we are continuing with the theme that we had commenced last time. So we are trying to see the connection between Sri Isopanishad and Bhagavad Gita. So I'll just briefly recap what we did last time, and then we would continue from where we left off. So we all know, like Prabhupada always called Bhagavad Gita as Gita Upanishad. So it is called as an Upanishad. And I was mentioning that Gita was spoken by Krishna to Vivaswan, as he says in the 4th chapter. And Vivaswan, the sun god, he had spoken this Isopanishad to his disciple, whose name was Yajnavalkya. Yeah, correct, thank you. He spoke it to Yajnavalkya, and this appears as part of the Shukla Yajurveda, this entire Upanishad. And also we see that there are 18 verses in the Isopanishad, just like there are 18 chapters in the Bhagavad Gita. And the way it is presented, it is actually a dialogue between a disciple and a guru, but because the number of verses are less, it doesn't appear that the disciple is asking anything. But when we read in between the lines, we understand that no, there is a dialogue that's going on. So we briefly looked at the invocation as well as the first two prayers last time, which is what I will briefly revise, and then we will start with today's topic. So the invocation, if you see, it starts with Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So 3 times that Shanti invocation is done, because every one of us suffers the threefold miseries: Adhyatmika, Ati Devika, Ati Bhautika. So one needs peace or relief from these 3 miseries. Only then one can actually practice anything well in his life or her life. So that is why the invocation prayers of the Upanishads always begin with Shanti Panchakam. So we are requesting for peace so that we can practice what we want. And it makes a lot of sense, because we all understand that even if we have a small headache, we can't even chant peacefully. So it becomes very difficult actually. So if any of the threefold miseries are striking us, it actually becomes very difficult to focus on any spirituality or anything. One needs relief from that first of all, so that one can do something peacefully. The general process given in the Vedic scriptures is that for Adhyatmika Klesha, so this comes in Mahabharata, that for Adhyatmika Klesha, that means for relief from Adhyatmika Klesha, there is a practice of spiritual life. Like when we hear the philosophy and when we practice some yoga, some sadhana, we actually get relief from the miseries of the mind, which is primarily Adhyatmika. The miseries of the mind, we get relief by practicing some yoga sadhana in one's life. For Ati Bhautika Klesha, the Mahabharata says that there are all these medicines. Generally all medicines, if you see, they are related to some trouble given by so many other living entities. So mosquito bites, this thing, that thing. For everything there are some medicine which is there. And for Ati Devika Klesha, for pacifying the devatas and others, there is this entire varnashram system where there are so many yajnas, pujas, everything done to, like Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, 3rd chapter verse 10, that you pacify the demigods and the demigods will be pleased with you, and in this way parasparam bhavayanta shreya paramavapsyata. So the higher powers in this universe which are there, they are actually pacified with the help of various offerings. So it seems there is one commentary of Madhvacharya where he says that among all the Pandavas, Bhima was actually a very great devotee, because he never approached any demigod in his life. So that is how Madhvacharya puts it. Because if you see carefully, Bhima, he never approaches any devata. However, some others say that no, Arjuna is. The reason is because Arjuna, if you see, he approached everybody. He was kind of a little bit opposite than Bhima in that context. He approached Lord Shiva, he worshipped Durga, everybody for weapons, for everything. So the way they look at it is no, because he understood that my mission is to serve Krishna. So to serve Krishna, whoever is going to help me, I will go to them. I have no problem. Oh, Bhagavan Shankar रहेंगे, ये रहेंगे, वो रहेंगे. If they can help me in my mission to Krishna, then I will take from them. There are other acharyas who say that Yudhishthira is the hero of the Mahabharata, is the main character, because Yudhishthira, as we have discussed, if you remember in the Yaksha Prashna series, he is the most steady in the real war of life. So the real war of life, people generally become unsteady. People don't know what to do. They panic. Right? We all know this actually. Many times it is seen that, when there is some, like sometimes, there's some calamity happens somewhere, like there is a fire in some building or something. Many people die because of panicking. They jump from top and they die. They just panic, and in that panicky situation, they make a wrong decision and they die. If you carefully see, many times it happens like that. So very few people are able to maintain composure when some sudden disaster strikes. So we see that also. So Yudhishthira, on the other hand, was always steady in the daily war of life. So that is why he's called. So he is considered a hero. But anyway, whatever it may be, the point is that the Pandavas were pretty intelligent in really understanding how to get whatever they wanted from different sources in this universe. And Krishna also directly encouraged them. Like we see, Krishna only tells Arjuna that, for this, you go to this Devata, do this particular thing, you will get this. And then, you use that in the war in this particular fashion. So anyway, so Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So one needs relief from the threefold miseries of life so that one can, peacefully exist in this world and do something. So that is the invocation prayer. Then we started with the first one, Isha Vasya Vidam Sarvam Yatkincha Jagatyam Jagat Tena Tyaktena Bunjita Ma Grada Kasya Swittanam. That Isha, I also mentioned that Isha, this Isopanishad, this Isha means, right, so this is the third case, Tritiya Vibhakti, of this particular noun in Sanskrit called eat, which actually refers to the Supreme Lord. So Isha Vasya in this context means by the Supreme, so that means everything is, so the opening verse talks about how the indweller, the Supreme Lord who is there, he pervades everything, he is there everywhere. He inspires everyone to do things. So if you remember, we saw the story of Duryodhan from the Mahabharata, where Duryodhan, he had planned that he will insult Krishna in a particular way, but Bhishma was very confident that he will not be able to insult Krishna, because Krishna is the super soul of Duryodhan also, and Krishna will make him stand up, and he will have to stand up when Krishna comes in the assembly. And a similar thing happened. Without his knowing, only he stood up. So Isha Vasya in this context also means that everyone in this universe is inspired by the Supreme to act in certain ways. And we will see this, that throughout this Upanishad, all the verses have this particular mood, that anything that is happening in this world is because the Supreme has inspired that living entity to act in that particular fashion. It is with that mood that everything is presented. We will come to that a little later. So he pervades everything, and because of him only everything is changing. So Jagata means what? Things are all changing in this world. Fashions are changing, this is changing, everything is changing. And all the change is also inspired by him. And Tena Tyaktena Bunjita, one should understand, so we saw this word that everything has become enjoyable in this world because he is present in it. Because Isha Vasyasya, because he is present in every object is enjoyable. So the child is enjoyable because Krishna is present in the child, and that childlike nature is being exhibited. A woman's feminine qualities, if you see, like Krishna says in Gita, all those feminine qualities are me, Krishna says. So that means those feminine qualities which are attractive are ultimately because Krishna is there in those qualities. So Tena Tyaktena Bunjita in this context means everything in the universe has become enjoyable because of the Lord's presence in it, because of his Shakti is present in it. And we saw that this is how Bhagavad Gita presents, right? Because the entire 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the focus is that opulence is the absolute, that Krishna is present in everything, and that is why that Krishna is the essence of every object, every person, every situation. Because of it, every object is enjoyable and palatable. We are having fun with a particular object, like, right? So that is what we saw. Tena Tyaktena Bunjita Ma Grada Kasya Swittanam. So one has to enjoy understanding to whom everything belongs, because everything actually belongs to the Isha Vasyasya. This was verse 1 that we saw, and we were seeing the parallel connection with Gita. Then we saw that, okay, when the Guru says like this to the disciple, then the disciple immediately feels that maybe I should renounce everything in this world. Because if he is only the enjoyer, main kya karu yahan baith ke? What am I going to do? He is only going to enjoy, might as well I give up everything. So that is why the next verse is Kurvan neveha karmani jijivesha shatam samaha. Evam toi nanyate tosti na karma lipyate nare. So in the second verse we saw kurvanehe karmani. No, you cannot give up everything. You have to do your prescribed duty, aspiring to live for 100 years. Now please note this. That means one has to aspire to maintain one's body, mind, everything for a long period of time. When you say 100 years, it means because a human life is supposed to last 100 years. So it's everyone's duty to aspire to live a long and healthy life, so that one can continue to do whatever one's prescribed duty is, in this consciousness that I have to do it for the Supreme, because as an act of offering to him. And we saw that this is prevalently the mood of Bhagavad Gita. We discussed last time from 18th chapter verse 1 to 6, where Arjuna is asking Krishna, what is the difference between Tyaga and Sannyas, and what do you recommend? And Krishna says renunciation means, Sannyas means to give up the whatever duties, and Tyaga means to give up the results of action. And Krishna concludes by saying that in my opinion, one should do Tyaga and not Sannyas. And this is the mood in 3rd chapter, 5th chapter, 18th chapter Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna is emphasizing that you have to do whatever you are doing, but give that result to me. That means do it for me, whatever you are doing. So this is the mood of the Gita, that even though he is the enjoyer, we are supposed to do in that mood. Right? Evam toi nanyate tosti. And if one does like that, then what happens? The law of karma doesn't bind anyone. And this again we see, this is what Krishna wanted to tell throughout the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. Right? So this is basically what we saw last time, that Ishavasyasya, the Lord is the indweller, and we have to do everything without attachment to fruits in this understanding, and that one is ultimately a tool. Right? One is ultimately a tool, nimitta matram. In that particular mood one has to do. Okay, so good. So let's go ahead now. So moving ahead, one thing we understand in this whole Upanishadic paradigm, or even the Bhagavad Gita paradigm itself, is where Krishna constantly hammers in the Bhagavad Gita, and that understanding is also here, that karma and jnana are not two separate paths, but both are actually one path only. Right? So just going back a little bit to Bhagavad Gita, if you see Bhagavad Gita text, if you see chapter 5 text 4, 5 and 6, chapter 5 text 4, Krishna is saying, only the ignorant speak of karma yoga as being different from Sankhya. Those who are actually learned says that he who applies himself to one of the paths achieve the results of both. That means if you see, whenever Arjuna asks this question, what should I lay emphasis upon, karma or jnana, Krishna always says that no, these are not two separate, but both are to be done. And that's exactly what we are understanding the Upanishad also, that one has to work in the spirit of the knowledge. That means after understanding properly whatever it is, one has to do one's work. So it is always considered like that. I mean, actually, so this part comes in the Gita as well. So one application of this is that even if you see whatever talent one has, that one has to constantly see how one can use that in this world in some way, right? So just like Mataji was just sharing with me yesterday, that she is a gynec, right? So in Vada they have a facility where they have invited all these doctors maybe once a week or something like that to come and do some service over there. So if you see, it is actually a very nice facility where everybody, whatever talent he or she possesses, a facility or a service where you can connect that, because that's what actually Gita is, that you have a particular nature because of which you have acquired certain skills. Now you have to see how you can use that in connection with service to the Lord, rather than giving that up completely. So this is the mood of the Gita by and large. This is the mood of the Upanishad also, right? That is how it is presented. And then the next verse, the verse number 3, we will discuss verse 3 to 7 today. Continuing the same way, we will be reading from the Gita as well as the Upanishad to see the connection. So I am just reading the verse first. Asurya namate loka andhena tamasavrataha tamste pratyabhigachanti eke chatmahano janaha. So now in this verse 3, what the Guru is doing is, he is telling the disciple, if you do not work in that consciousness, what happens to you? Okay, so basically verse 2 said how you should work. You have to work in this world dedicating everything to Him. And you have to do that for 100 years. Okay, you have to do that for 100 years. That's why this concept of jnana sannyas, or this concept of renouncing everything, is never the spirit of the Gita in that sense. It's always how you can do things in devotion, in connection to the Supreme. How you can do everything. I think last time we discussed this elaborately. How the Pandavas were literally 90-year-old when they were fighting the war. Right? I mean, and even in those times, by the end of Dwapar Yuga, the age was almost only 125. So at that age, they fought this massive war to get the kingdom. Right? So in fact, somebody may say, how long did they rule? Only 36 years. So one Acharya says that, why 36? Even if the Pandavas had to fight the war to rule for one day, still it was okay. Because even if for one day they could rule, the whole kingdom, then also it's fine, because that means they worked in that spirit. Right? So that means it's never too late to consider when I should do something, when I should get into something. So many times we have this worry that, am I too old to start some, to work in a particular way and all that. People have this worry, मेरा age बहुत हो गया अभी मैं नया project कैसे शुरू करूँ, or how will I, actually start a business, or how will I do this? Is it really necessary at this age? I'll die very soon. So that part is, you are not supposed to think like that actually. If you see from the Gita perspective, according to one's nature and one's ability and skill, one has to connect that to the Supreme. One cannot say that I will, I'm just going to withdraw myself. That you cannot do. That's what actually the Gita and Upanishad is talking about. Okay, now coming to the verse 3 under discussion today. Asurya namate loka, as we read. So here the Guru is telling the disciple, what happens if you don't work in that consciousness? So if somebody says that, I don't want to work for the Supreme. I'm not concerned about all this. Fine. So then what happens? Asurya namate loka, andhena tamasavrataha. He enters the, the darker planets. So that means he has a, he actually has a very terrible destination, because the thing is, if you see the entire Vedic scripture, the path of yoga is for everyone. Everyone in this world is supposed to do something in connection with the Supreme. If you do something without connection to the Supreme, as an offering to Him, and in a selfish fashion, then you are bound to go down. So Asurya namate loka. Asurya namate loka in this context means that you go to the planet, or you go to the place of lower existence. So basically you lose perhaps your human form of life, you enter the animal species, something like that happens. Because you have not connected yourself and your work to the Supreme. Because you didn't do that, this is the destination. Asurya namate loka andhena tamasavrata. And if you see the Bhagavad Gita, this is again considered a very important theme. So I'm just reading from Gita. If you see chapter 16, text number 16. So it talks about someone who is not connected to the Supreme, the divine and demonic nature. Very interesting chapter. There are 20 verses in this chapter, 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And only the first 3 verses Krishna talks about divine. And the remaining 17 verses he talks about demonic qualities. Perhaps because that is more relevant to so many people or whatever. But Krishna spends a lot of time explaining demonic nature. So look at that chapter 16, text 16. Thus perplexed by various anxieties and bound by a network of illusion, they become too strongly attached to sense enjoyment and fall down to hell. Krishna is talking about, those who are, bound by illusion and who are attached to enjoyment. Because that's what we were reading now. Right? Self-complacent and always impudent, deluded by wealth and false prestige, they sometimes perform sacrifice in name only without following any rules and regulations. Bewildered by false ego, strength, pride, lust and anger, the demons become envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated in their own bodies and the body of others, and blaspheme against real religion. Look at that. The last verse in this series is very interesting, very similar to this verse. Asuram yoni mapanna muda janmani janmani ma aprappeva kaunteya tato yanti adhamam gatim. So if you see this verse of the Gita, it is very similar to this verse that we read, Asurya namate loka. Asaram yoni mapanna muda janmani janmani. Krishna says, after repeated birth among species of demonic life, O son of Kunti, such persons can never approach me. Gradually they sink down to the most abominable type of existence. Right? So, and then Krishna warns, Trividam Naraka, the three gates leading to hell, lust, anger and greed. Every sane man must give it up, for they lead to degradation of the soul. So these verses of the Gita are very much echoing the same mood which the Guru has presented here to the disciple in the Isopanishad. That if you cannot work in the consciousness connected to the Supreme, your destination is quiet. That's the destination that one will have to accept. So what it also means is that, in this world, for a person to even maintain one, just like in this world, the nature of the world is such that even to maintain one's position, one has to keep working, right? Like we all know that. Like for example, if somebody is, let us say, a high class businessman, even if he has to maintain that level of status, as a businessman, he has to work very hard. Otherwise, he just comes down, right? He has to work in that position also. We see that sometimes, just like we see that Ambani. If you see he had two sons, when they split their property, they did it pretty evenly. But now if you see that elder fellow, where he has gone, and that younger one is completely, he has no money. I mean, even if he lost a court case, he had to pay some money, the elder one only gave that money to pay it off. And that was some few millions only, compared to what they were. Basically, what it shows you is, simply by, you cannot put a child or put anybody in one position and expect that person to be in that position always. Because to maintain that position also, that person has to work hard. Otherwise, they fall down from that position. I mean, we are talking in terms of money, but that same thing is applicable everywhere. Even human life or whatever. To get something is fine, but to maintain that also, because that is the nature of this world. Whatever position you have, usko maintain karna bhi bahut mushkil hai. Maintenance itself is very difficult, right? I mean, we all know that. To maintain our jobs also. It's a struggle actually, to maintain it. Just to maintain status quo. And there itself we feel a success sometimes. That, somehow I maintained the status quo. It is running the way I thought about it. That's the nature of this world actually. Maintaining status quo itself is quite a challenge. It's never that easy. And the same spirit is there even in terms of human life. Even to maintain status quo as a devotee, we see that most of us here, all of us are practicing for easily 15 years plus, 20 years, 25 years. We know that even to maintain status quo as a devotee is a challenge. You have to keep maintaining that. Otherwise it's a daily struggle to maintain the status quo. So why we are talking about that here is that is the struggle of life. To maintain that status, in terms of that yoga, right? If you cannot do that, then one lands up in a different situation. And that is why we see like the Mahabharata and so many other stories of people who actually struggled whole life. Because life is a struggle and that's just unavoidable, right? So in marketing it seems there is a slogan, to stay where you are, you need to keep running, just to stay where you are. There was one very big company, it seems, I forgot the name of that company, maybe someone can help me if you remember reading that news. I think it was Surf or one of these, consumer products. So what happened, for some time it seems they thought that we are anyway a very famous brand. Why should we spend money on advertising? So it seems they cut down on their advertising because they thought anyway people are buying it was one of these consumer products. Either it was Surf, Nirma tha pata nahi kaun tha. So one of it was, one consumer product it was, which was doing very well. And it seems when they stopped advertising, they came down. In a year, they actually came down substantially in their business and everything. Because the nature of the world is like that. You have to keep fighting. Even if you are doing well, just to maintain status quo, you have to keep fighting only. Otherwise, the status quo is not maintained. Like yoga, I mean, those of you who do yoga, at least I have that experience. If for some reason I cannot do yoga for 3 days, 2 days or something, third day you sit to do, every part of the body starts paining. And you suddenly see that some asana you were able to do 3-4 days back, abhi wohi asana mein pain ho raha hai. because your body has perhaps lost the flexibility. So that's how it is. Status ko maintain karna har ek cheez mein mushkil hai. So there's one very famous musician. He made a very interesting observation. He said, if I don't practice music for one day, I come to know that I haven't practiced. Like Prabhuji is there. If I don't practice for 2 days, my competitor comes to know that I haven't practiced. If I don't practice for 3 days, my audience comes to know that I haven't practiced. And if I don't practice for 4 days, there is nobody to listen. So, it doesn't matter now because no one comes to know, whether I practiced or not. It just becomes a don't care thing. So, one very South Indian musician, but he said this statement. So, it just goes to show that nature of the world is to struggle against all odds to maintain status. And that's one important lesson from this verse 3, that verse 2 and 3, that 100-year human life, that struggle which is there, in that mood of service, that one has to do that, otherwise one just falls off. Right. And if one doesn't do that, what does the Isopanishad call him? It calls him as Atmahano. Eke Chatmahano Janaha. So this Atmaha is called as the killer of the soul. So Atmaha means one who is killing one's own soul. So again, this is now we again go back to the Bhagavad Gita. If you see the Bhagavad Gita, if you see chapter 16, it talks about people who are in such a situation. So Krishna says that, Krishna talks about in that very famous verse, Idam ayam maya labdam. The demoniac person thinks, so much wealth I have today, I will gain more according to my scheme. So much is mine now, it will increase in the future. He is my enemy and I have killed him. And my other enemies will also be killed. I am the Lord of everything, I am the enjoyer, I am perfect, powerful and happy. I am the richest person surrounded by relatives. There is none so powerful and happy as I am. In this way, such persons are deluded by ignorance. So, this is a description of an Atmaha typically from the Gita, where someone is, thinking about himself in a particular fashion. Okay, fine. Now moving ahead. So, at the conclusion of verse 3, the disciple who is hearing this sermon of the Upanishad from his guru, he wants to know about the Supreme Lord. He feels that, please describe the Supreme Lord to me. So, he's requesting the guru that, please kindly describe the Supreme Lord, because you have said that one has to understand Him. So the next 2 verses are a description of the Supreme Lord, 4 and 5, and 6 and 7 are a consequence of one who understands the Lord. So this is what is presented in the Upanishad. So we will read 4 and 5. So mantra 4. Anecha dekam manaso javiyo neina deva apnuvan purvamarshad tad dhavato nyan atyeti tishtat tasmin apo matarishva dadati. So in this first verse, mantra 4, the Supreme Lord has been described by the Guru to the disciple. He is described as full of contradictions and inconceivable. That's how he describes him. Anejadekam. Anejada means in Sanskrit one who doesn't move at all. Anejad, he doesn't move. Ekam means unique. Unique means you can't compare him with anything else. So about unique, there is one beautiful incident in the Ramayana where Valmiki wants to describe the fight between Ram and Ravana. Right? So there is a fight which is happening between Ram and Ravana, and Valmiki wishes to describe it. So how was that fight? So Valmiki starts by saying that it can't be compared with anything else. He says, Valmiki describes that if you want to describe how big the sea is, what can you say? You can say the sea is as large as the sea. Or if somebody wants to describe how vast the sky is, then the only analogy one can give is the sky is as vast as the sky only, because there is nothing as vast as the sky for you to give another analogy saying that sky is as vast as something else. So you can't do that. So then he says, I want to describe the fierce, thrilling war between Ram and Ravana. So the verse that comes in Valmiki Ramayana goes like this: Rama Ravana yor yuddham, Rama Ravana yor iva. Which basically means that the fight between Ram and Ravana was as fierce, as thrilling, as exciting as the fight between Ram and Ravana. Because you can't compare that with something else. So he says that this is the only comparison that is there. So that's what unique means. Anekam, ekam. That means he's unique. You can't compare him with anything else. Manaso javiyo. So we had, the verse had described earlier as aneja, that means he's fixed. But manaso javiyo means he's swifter than the mind. That means he's quicker than the mind. Now what does this mean? We hear this many times, he's faster than our mind. But what actually does it mean? What does it mean that he's faster than our mind? Can anybody tell? What do you understand? I mean, I'm sure all of us have heard this so many times. That the Lord is, he's faster than the mind. But what does it, uska matlab kya hua?
Before even we desire he comes to know, because just like a mother knows what his child is going to do, she knows in advance because she knows his nature. Similarly, Lord knows the nature of that particular soul, so he knows already what he's going to think about.
So you're saying that he knows our mind before we have known about it. Okay, very good. That's one way.
Like mind, we see that mind is very fickle. Mind is very fickle. So let's say, like one moment I can think of something here, the next moment I can think something in US.
Yeah, that is standard we say about
it. The mind moves very fast, but the Lord is more fast than that.
Speed-wise. But how? That you are asking.
Speed-wise.
Yeah, actually, one meaning of, I understood. These meanings we have heard, but the meaning that I wanted to say, which I have heard in this context, is that he's beyond our imagination in our mind. Manaso javiyo means, that means we cannot comprehend him in the mind itself. हमें मन के साथ उनको comprehend करना भी मुश्किल है. That means, because our mind can go to US, as you're saying from here, but even with that speed of the mind, we can't reach him. He's beyond the reach of that. That's what it means. So of course there is a simple example given to that. Like if you see the Bhagavatam, in the 5th canto there is a description of Brahmaloka. So Shukdev Goswami, when he is describing Brahmaloka to Parikshit Maharaj, he says the dimension and the nature of Brahma's palace in Brahmaloka is such that before you comprehend what is there, it has changed. So it seems, मतलब आपने वो painting, वो color आपने note किया, ये इधर लाल कलर है, इधर हरा है, इधर ये है, वापस इधर देखा तो लाल नहीं रहेगा. मतलब it changes. Brahmaloka, the design itself is such that it's not static. मतलब वही नहीं, यही फर्नीचर नहीं रहेगा, आप अभी ये रहेगा, अभी सडनली वो गोल्ड हो जाएगा, फिर वहाँ देखो, वहाँ देखो सिल्वर हो जाएगा अभी. So it is just changing its structure. The whole thing, everything is changing. As you just look around, it's just constantly transforming. That change is fun, right? I mean, everybody likes change. Sachimudra Bro is ecstatic of hearing this information. So, because, I mean, who likes to have the same thing? But somehow in this world we are forced to live with the same thing always. But spiritual world तो दूर की बात है, हम अभी ब्रह्मलोक की बात कर रहे हैं. So Brahmaloka is within the universe. So before you have realized how it is, it has changed the entire structure, form, everything. So that is how it is. So Manaso javiyo. So the Lord's abode and everything is much beyond that comprehension. आप सोच भी नहीं सकते. So that's why when we hear all these pastimes in Vrindavan, it becomes very difficult to comprehend also. I mean, from a very intellectual perspective, if you start putting your head, Nanda Maharaj had 9 lakh cows. एक काऊ को कितना स्क्वायर मीटर लगता है, वो कैसे बैठेंगे इतने सारे, मतलब वो नहीं होगा, आपका कॉम्प्रिहेंड ही नहीं होगा. और when they say, when Krishna had the rasa dance, he put one night of Brahma into that. So one person who heard this asked the question, फिर प्रभु जी यूएस के लोगों को क्या हुआ, क्योंकि इधर रासलीला था, उधर डे था ना. If Krishna had put, वो बेचारा यूएस के साथ काम कर रहा था, क्लाइंट है यूएस में, तो when he heard this person had this question only. If Krishna put one night of Brahma in Raslila, ठीक है, इंडिया में नाइट था, बाकी सो रहे थे, आप समझ सकते. यूएस में क्या हुआ नहीं, उधर तो डे है, suddenly sun is not setting only, one day of Brahma. So how did that work? तो ज़्यादा उसमें जाने का नहीं, because it's very difficult for us to comprehend. At some point of time our comprehension there fails. So मैंने सोचा भी नहीं हो सकता, आपको छोड़ देना पड़ेगा उसको. So your power of comprehension till one level it is okay. Are you getting? So this Anuman actually, just one thing to say, like we say Pratyaksh Anumana Shabda, right? Generally, at least previously when I used to present this device session to Pratyaksh Anumana Shabda, I used to always present or think that Pratyaksh and Anumana is, not to be a thing and only Shabda. But later I actually understood it's not like that. All three are considered valid sources of knowledge, And generally speaking, it is said whatever you hear by Shabda should be corroborated by Pratyaksha and Anumana also. That means it is not that something you hear by Shabda and उसका प्रत्यक्ष अनुमान से आप समझ ही नहीं सकते उसको, ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए ordinarily. So the Lord's pastimes and all, उसमें आप अनुमान और प्रत्यक्ष नहीं लगा सकते. At one point, it just goes off completely. You know, it's beyond all that logic. But normally speaking, it is not like that. Normally speaking, it is not like that. You know, world by and large moves on Anuman only. So like yesterday, I'll tell you, I had a big discussion with one college student. So yesterday I was giving one of these lectures on science of soul in my college. So there was this one boy, बहुत major argument. He made me really think also. So I'm just putting it up here just to see how would you deal with that. So I started off by telling that whatever is in the mind comes in the body. You know, this is our effect. That means the body is seen as the effect, you know, of whatever cause is there in the mind. Correct? So I was talking on this theme and I was saying that in modern science, we actually don't understand where the mind is, because we don't know where the mind is. Nobody really knows. Even if you see big neurologists, they have only understood that the brain, different parts of the brain are controlling different parts of the body. But nobody has understood where the mind is. Okay, so for example, where does your desire originate? Right? Nobody knows this. I'm sure all of you, if you have read that Devamrit Swami's book, he talks about that experiment, right? So there is that Canadian neurosurgeon whose experiment is described by Devamrit Maharaj. He says that this fellow's name was Dr. Penfield. So what he did is, he took a patient on the table and there is one part of the brain which, let us say, tells the hand to go up. So normally you desire, my hand should go up, and then your hand goes up. But then mechanically speaking, there is a stimulus from part of the brain that goes to the hand and then the hand goes up. So what this fellow did, this Dr. Penfield, he would take patient, बाहर से वो trigger करता था. Suddenly the hand would go up. So then he would ask the patient, did you desire to raise your hand? And the patient would say, no, I did not. Okay. So then this Dr. Penfield's conclusion was, is the desire to raise your hand equal to the signal from the brain? Then his conclusion was, no, it is not. Because there is a signal from the brain to the hand which can be given even externally, but that is not equivalent to your desire. A desire to aapka kuch aa rahi, to desire kahan aaya phir? So it is said that Devamrit Maharaj concludes the article by saying that Dr. Penfield died by saying that I cannot know only what is happening. मतलब मेरे को क्या हो रहा है नहीं समझ. बहुत research किया उसने. Research किया बेचारे ने.
One level he took.
हाँ, he took it to one level. So he only understood that. At least he gave some material for us in our device course. कुछ तो भाई हम लोग भी बोले कि कुछ तो मसाला चाहिए ना. ऐसे बोलेंगे तो लोग बांधते नहीं. So he would give trigger to different parts of the body and different things. Suddenly leg will go up, everything would happen. And then we would ask the patient, did you desire? They would say, no, I didn't desire. It's like somebody takes your hand and takes it up. And then the question is, where did the desire come? So I was talking to students, I was saying that, see, there is a mind. Actually, desire happens there, or feelings happen in the mind, and the effect is in the body. So this is the theme that I was saying. So then what happened, one student who said, sir, actually happiness. So I was saying that happiness. So I was saying that what happens in psychiatry. So just like we know, in psychiatry mein kya hota hai basically. Maybe a doctor can help us, couple of them are there here. At least she is there only today. So psychiatry, if I understand right, whatever emotions are there in your mind, right? You feel happy, some hormones are secreted. What do you call that? That student?
Endocrines.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what that student was also saying. So when you are happy in your mind, that hormone is secreted. Correct? Or when you are depressed, another hormone is secreted. So basically nowadays it seems you get pills, happiness pills. If you eat that pill, that hormone gets secreted and you feel happy. My students knew about it. They were all saying, sir, aisa milta hai aajkal. Happiness. Huh? You get that?
Now, previously also like for antidepressants,
yeah.
Because euphoria.
So if you eat the pill, you feel happy. You feel happy. Yeah. And that means that hormone gets secreted. So when this point came, the students were saying, sir, see, the body is only causing the mind to react.
Okay.
अब समझ गए ना? स्टूडेंट्स का अनुमान थे. ये सब अनुमान में हम लोग आर्गुमेंट कर रहे हैं. Are you getting it? So one student said, sir, it is only the release of that chemical which is the cause of happiness. So then I asked him one question. You tell me, suppose if I give you a news, I give you two pieces of news. First piece of news I tell you is that you have won a 1 lakh rupee lottery. Okay. Then what happens? He says, sir, I'll feel very happy. So how does it happen? He said, when you give me the news that I got one life, that hormone is secreted, and after the hormone is secreted, I feel happy. So then I asked him, why is that hormone secreted when you hear this news of getting 1 crore lottery win? So that means you have heard some news in your mind has absorbed that thought, there is a feeling with it that I won that 1 crore or 1 lakh or whatever you won, and then the hormone is secreted. Correct? So can't you see that effect, that first it happens in the mind, and on the other hand, if I tell you that your house is lit on fire and everything has got destroyed and there is a 1 crore loss, then just by hearing that you feel depressed and sad because you heard that news. So he said, no, but sir, I think that somehow that news is causing that through the brain, that thing to get secreted, and then the happiness and the distress is coming. So I'm just saying that Anumana, it becomes very difficult actually, when you actually debate at the level of Anumana. So at some level you have to accept Shabda, but then we have to try to see whether Anumana. So actually here Anumana works pretty well, at least in this domain. This is not as inconceivable as the Lord's activity or something. काफ़ी ठीक ठीक समझ में आता है कि ये भाई कि this is how things are working, and your mind has absorbed some information and your body has reacted in a particular way. Correct, na? I mean,
like Radhesham also puts those brain examples, no? That what rod had gone into the brain.
Yeah.
It is also like everything was damaged, but still he lived naturally.
Yeah, but that is not for everyone. No, 1-2 medical cases है.
और वो liquid का भी है ना?
Yeah, correct.
Brain में पूरा liquid रहता है, तो still.
Yeah, correct. That Devamand Maharaj only gives in his books all these examples.
From there.
That people's brain is destroyed, but still they are doing very well in life. Because the mind is direct, but that is a very rare thing. Generally it doesn't happen. Generally person's brain is damaged, he is finished only. He's paralyzed.
Small children also, no, they have some liquid substance only in that brain, but they, for some days or some hours, they show normal
behavior. Yeah. Okay, anyway, let's go ahead. Any comment on this? Anybody has any understanding on that? Okay. So let's go.
What is that explanation, Prabhupada? Taking that pill?
No, so it's a very simple thing. See, generally the mind releases hormones in your body, but so psychiatry, if you see modern psychiatry, how does it treat everything? It treats everything at the effect level. So it secretes hormones artificially in your body, and temporarily you feel relief. But it is not considered. I mean, I was arguing with that student. Suppose, for example, you go home and you find that there has been an accident, everybody in the home is dead, and you eat those pills. Are you going to be ecstatic now suddenly? No, because it's just terribly contradicting the reality. The reality is that there are 5 dead bodies around and I'm just eating pills or something, just to feel happiness. It's too external, it's too superficial, it's too... So one thing we understand is that it is at a very, external level, so perhaps it has less effect also. And this I also got the feeling when, some devotees also had some psychiatric problem, and when we spoke to one psychiatrist, we realized that most of these people who tend to have psychiatric issues like depression, etc., they tend to be lifetime patients. Correct? Which generally मतलब वो schizophrenia हुआ ये हुआ जीवन भर रहते हैं उनका चलते रहते हैं वो. Which means they keep taking these pills, try to restore their hormonal balance, temporarily feel good, but the next day they have to again take that pill. At least I know some of my good friends who had this trouble for some reason, and their doctors, the psychiatric told them that ये जीवन भर का problem है तेरा, ये जाने ही नहीं वाला है. So all you can do is you can मतलब वो जो हमारा mental problem जो है उसके कारण there is some hormonal imbalance, तू इधर से pill डाल के उसको restore कर, थोड़ा देर ठीक रहेगा, कल वापस लेना ही पड़ेगा तेरे को. Which means you understand very clearly that the problem is somewhere else. By and large we know that now our allopathy science works at the effect level only, not so much at the cause level. So basically it is just trying to rectify the body.
Right. The causes is the opposite. Like if somebody is depressed and you take anything, they become euphoric, not normal. They become euphoric.
Okay, yeah, understood. Yeah, euphoric मतलब ज़्यादा ही हो जाता है.
In the last week they start dancing and all that.
अच्छा, you've seen that? My wife has gone several times there. I mean, just to distribute books, not for another thing. There is a psychiatric hospital close to my house. She has gone there to distribute books. I'm just clarifying, otherwise people will think that you have been part of that hospital. Okay, we'll go ahead. So she's saying that when they take these pills and all, they keep dancing and all that. Because वो sudden झटका बैठे है ना, उनको body handle नहीं कर पा रहा इतना happiness. So whatever. Okay, so the Lord is unparalleled. Okay, where did we come from all this? Okay, I came from all this because I wanted to say that the Lord is unique and inconceivable. So He is beyond Pratyaksha and Anumana. He, at least only by Shabda you can understand Him. That's where we were. Okay? Yeah. Now coming to the Bhagavad Gita. So the Gita also talks about this in several places. We're just looking at some verses from the Gita. So let's look at 10 point. If you see in the 10th chapter, look at this verse. Nantosti mama divyanam vibhutinam parantapa. Krishna says here that, O mighty conqueror of enemies, there is no end to my manifestations. What I have spoken to you is a mere indication of my opulences. Even the last verse of the 10th chapter, how Krishna is talking about himself. Atava bahunaitena kim nyatena tavarjuna vishtabhyam idam kritsnam ekam stena stito jagat. He says that, but what their need is there, Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge. With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support the entire universe. Which means we understand that Krishna is that, and that fraction of his is considered the Paramatma, whom the Isopanishad is talking about as somebody who is all pervading, the indweller who is there everywhere. Right? So that is the connection. Because Isopanishad is talking about that Ishavasya, by the Lord, that Paramatma who is there everywhere, and that Paramatma is considered a fragment of Krishna's Ekam Sena Stito Jagat. Just one fragment of his is maintaining and doing everything over here. And as we saw here, although he is fixed, he is swifter than everything. So that's what the next verse is. Tad dhavatonnyan atyeti tishtat. That means, even though he is fixed, nobody can approach him, including the Devatas, because he is swifter than everybody. So that means he is fixed, but he is swifter. So why is it like that? Why is it that he is fixed in one place, but still he is swifter? Why is it like that? No, not inconceivable. It's conceivable in a way. Because he is present everywhere. He is fixed, but he is fixed everywhere. And because he is fixed everywhere, once you have reached another place, he is already reached there. Correct, sir. Inconceivable in that sense, yeah.
Bhakti has written it is.
Bhakti, of course, yeah. No, but sometimes, every time we can't use that word inconceivable. Because then somebody will say, what are you trying to explain then? If everything is inconceivable, might as well close the book and keep it aside. So correct is inconceivable, that is correct. The inconceivability is how he is present everywhere. That part is inconceivable. But he is fixed everywhere, and because he is fixed everywhere, by the time you have reached some place, he is already reached there. So he is faster than you. So you will run from here to there, but he is fixed everywhere. He is there in every atom. So that, when you reach there, he is faster. Right? And he overtakes everyone. Okay? He overtakes everyone. Yeah.
In this purport only it's written that it is stated that even if a non-devotee philosopher travels through space at the speed of the wind or the mind for hundreds of millions of years, he will still find that the absolute truth is far, far away from him. So that means for devotee it is different? Is this or not?
No. What it means is, by material means one cannot approach him. That's what the meaning of what you are reading is.
I mean for devotee, he is not swifter.
No, he is swifter than everybody, but by his mercy you can reach his abode. But when Prabhupada is saying whatever you read, what it means is that by one's effort one cannot barge in there. And that is not only about him. That's what I was telling earlier. Shukadeva Goswami, when he talks to Parikshit about heavenly planets, even about that he says one cannot reach only. That is why even this Chandrayaan and all this, if you see, like Prabhupada would always say that even if Prabhupada would say, even if you went to the moon, you can't access those inhabitants. They are much greater than you. I mean, so why should you? So, आप उनको access नहीं कर सकते. You may just territorially barge in the territory. Like Jayadeva Maharaj gives an example. You may reach New York 5th Avenue, street number 120. But you can be on the street, that's all. That person is sitting on the 120th floor, you will never access him. वो ऊपर बैठा है, ऊपर से देख रहा है कि तू स्ट्रीट में घूम रहा है, बस उतना ही है बस. और स्ट्रीट में घूमो और चले जाओ. So basically, what to speak of the Supreme Lord, even the Devatas are not accessible as such. One cannot barge in their territory or anything. Then इनका तो सवाल ही नहीं आता. You just cannot go. So that adhikar is there. In Sadaput Prabhu's terms, he talks about space curvature. That means he says that space curves for you. So he says that you have an adhikar So when you try to go beyond, you'll have to come back to that same point of adhikar where you are given adhikar in terms of roaming around. उसके बाहर आप जा ही नहीं सकते. Yeah.
Unless until you have mercy of the Lord.
Yeah, or that requisite qualification, even material qualification, in terms of reaching a heavenly abode, वो नहीं हो सकता. Right? And then to give an example of so now again inconceivability is also there in this verse, and because of the inconceivability, so we'll just talk one nice story here. So this is a Ramayana story. So it is said when Hanuman reached Mother Ashoka Vatika, and Hanuman, as we know, he reached in the form of a cat. Initially he entered Lanka in the form of a cat, and he entered in the form of a cat, and when he approached Sita, he volunteered that I will take you to Ram, come with me. So first response of Sita was that she started laughing. Hanuman said, why are you laughing? So Sita said, you are so small, how will you take me? Because till that time Hanuman was like a cat shaped form, and Sita was much bigger in size in that time, and he's saying that I'll take you. So she felt it quite funny. So at that time Hanuman says, so this verse comes in Ramcharitamanas, not in Valmiki Ramayana. So Hanuman says that if the Lord wants, this is also possible. In this shape only I can take you. So there Tulsidas puts a verse by saying that if the Lord wants, tomorrow onwards snakes can start eating vultures. Generally vulture eats snakes because that is the arrangement in Srishti. But if tomorrow the Lord desires that no, this arrangement has to change, no, snake will start eating vulture, that will happen because that's the arrangement. Of course, then we may give some scientific terminology to it and everything. I mean, just like I'll tell you a simple thing. In Ramayana we hear, right, when Lord Ram shot that crow in one eye, correct? So the crow became, right, that Brahmastra chhod diya na, kawe ke upar ek aankh. And then from that time crows can see only in one eye. But Ram also gave a blessing that with that one eye you will have 360-degree vision. So I was reading about this yesterday on some scientific blogs. And one article very nicely explained some monochromatic vision of the crow. Article, very scientific terms, it said that it seems a crow is an animal, is a bird, that it seems can use only one of its eyes at a time. It will have two eyes, but it seems at one time it can see only through one. मतलब दोनों आँख उसका है, लेकिन one time it can see only through one eye. It is always permanently blind in one eye, it seems, but that can keep changing. But in that one eye it has complete vision. So that article in very scientific terms it described that whole process of how the crow's eyes work and how it is seeing around. So it was very interesting to read it. But what you understand is, so that is a scientific, at a very, at a material explanation of how things happen. But the fact still remains that the crow is blind in one eye, at any given point of time. Though it has two eyes, it can see only through one. It cannot see. I previously used to think that हम लोग ऐसे story बोलते हैं, सही में science के हिसाब से है क्या? तो मैंने पढ़ा बैठ के कल, ये Google करके देख रहा था, crow का क्या होता है. So one gentleman had very nicely explained this, saying that this is how it is, and many people said yes, this is correct, and some other scientists had corroborated that view. So just to share with you. So the Lord desires, then it will happen, and then there will immediately be some material explanation also. How suddenly now snakes are able to eat vultures, because this enzyme has changed, this has happened, that has happened. But anyway, so Hanuman tells Sita that if the Lord wants, then I can take you, but so basically the Lord only has to do Sankalpa Shakti. Sankalpa Shakti, we say Sankalpa Shakti, that means he desires. And this Sankalpa Shakti is very wonderfully described in Bhagavad Gita in this very, very famous verse. We just look at this one verse to understand his Sankalpa Shakti. It's 11.33. Tasmat tvam uttishta yasho labasva jitva shatrun bhungshva rajyam samriddham mayye vete nihita purvameva. Look at this third line of this verse, 11.33. Mayye vete nihita purvameva. Krishna is saying here that they are already put to death by my arrangement. Bhagavan Arjun ko bol rahe hai ki all these people are already dead only because I have willed it. That's his will. Because he has willed it. It will happen. And so he tells Arjuna, Nimitta matram bhave savesachin. Just become an instrument. It is already willed from my side that these people are all dead. So that is called Sankalpa Shakti. And that is what the Upanishad is also talking of here. And for Sankalpa Shakti, such a nice example is given here in this text 4. Tasmin apo matarishva datati. Apo matarishva datati means, try to understand the meaning. Apaha means what? Water. Apa means water, like we know Apo. Apo means water. Matarishwa actually means, there are many meanings to it. One meaning is wind. The idea is that can wind hold water? Can water float on air? Generally. Can water float on air?
No.
Like water can float on water, right? Like for example, ice can float on water. Ice is also water. Normal water is also water, and ice always floats on water. We all know this, right? Ice floats on water. But the question is, can water float on air? Generally, no. So why the Isopanishad talks about this is Tasmin Apo Matarishva Dadati, because that's what is happening in the clouds. So basically the clouds are considered primarily water. Okay? But then they are floating in air only. Right? So basically the air is holding the water, which generally doesn't happen. Of course, we have a scientific explanation once again, why that cloud is floating. Oh, uska pura ek science hai uske piche. But the thing is that arrangement itself is indicative of this fact, that it is because he has desired it that something like that has also happened, because there is a arrangement behind it. You know, that water has to come and it has to rain. Otherwise, none of us can live peacefully. So by sankalpa, he does it. By his sankalpa, he does it. So the Acharyas explain, it is not that the Lord has to be personally present to ensure it happens. If he desires, it can happen. And then the example is given that why him? Even a powerful yogi or a great soul, by his desire, things can happen. And for that, we have the example from Balakand and Vishwamitra. So who is the hero in Balakand of Vishwamitra? Oh, sorry, of Ramayana. I give the answer. Vishwamitra. Yeah, sorry. So in Ramayana, the hero of Balakand is not Lord Ram, it is Vishwamitra. Why it is like that? Because Ram has not exhibited much till that time. Ram's heroism comes much later. But in the Balakand, Vishwamitra is narrating so many stories to Ram and Lakshman. And in all the stories, by and large, his heroism comes out. So one of the stories is the story of the Trishanku. And in that story, we see that if you see this, the Trishanku, when he is up in the sky and when he is coming down, look at that verse, I am just reading from Ramayana. इंद्र इतना कहते ही राजा त्रिशंकु तपोधन विश्वामित्र को पुकार कर त्राही त्राही की रट लगाते हुए पुनः स्वर्ग से नीचे गिरे. He started त्राही त्राही, he started shouting and he was falling down, head down. And what did he do? विश्वामित्र चीखते चिल्लाते हुए त्रिशंकु की यह करुणा पुकार सुनकर कौशिक मुनि को बड़ा क्रोध हुआ. वे त्रिशंकु से बोले, राजन वहीं ठहर जा, वहीं ठहर जा. So he just tells him to stop. Tishtati. If you see the verse, it is Tishta Tishtati Chabravit. So he just said, stay there. And he stood there. So the idea is that Sankalpa Shakti is there for anybody who has Tapobala. So the Lord has Sankalpa Shakti because he has Tapobala more than anybody. But even in this world, it is said if somebody has Tapobala, then his vak, that means his speech, becomes so powerful that if he says something, it happens. So this whole idea of blessing from a great soul, that's what it is. Because if somebody has tapobala, if he says something, that statement becomes true. Because he has said it. So it has to. So it seems the universal powers have to ensure that that happens. So there is a science behind it. So basically that tapasya gets invested over there. And that is why we see that Vishwamitra, after this episode, he had to go and again do tapasya. Because this is not some ordinary thing. And it is said that he created a heaven. I mean, he didn't create just, sometimes we feel, heaven matlab kya, aise khali swarga kya, only Trishanku sitting, such a bore it is to sit. The thing is, he tells Trishanku, he tells the Devatas, I will create a swarga complete with a separate set of apsaras, everything. ऐसा नहीं कि वो ऐसे बैठे हैं वहाँ पर बोर हो रहे हैं, त्रिशंकु बैठे हैं हेवन में, कोई रे. It's not like that. He created a parallel swarga with all facilities of swarga. But different from that Indra Swarga. पूरा नया system ही बना दिया उसके लिए. So how did it happen? So the answer is because he had tapobala and he said it has to happen. All that tapasya, it's like a money you can say. You got invested in that business or whatever, construction. And pura ban gaya. And then the Ramayana says on the next chapter, Vishwamitra had to go to another place to do severe tapasya again to gain that merit. Okay, so that's exactly what it means by when we say that, the Lord, when he desires, it will happen. Because he has the highest tapasya. If you want to compare it like that, Vishwamitra is nothing compared to that. So if he desires something, it just happens. And there is nothing very surprising about that. Is that okay? Yeah. So the next verse, we'll move to the verse 5 here.
So verse 4 main is about the Sankalpa.
Huh?
Verse 4
is about his Sankalpa and inconceivability. That how he is there everywhere and by his Sankalpa everything is done. And that is again seen in Bhagavad Gita also, as we read from 11.32. Let's see mantra 5. Tadejati tannejati taddure tadantike tadantarasya sarvasya tadussarvasyasya bahyatah. Tadejati means he walks. Tannejati, that means he does not walk. Taddure, he is far away. Tadvantike, he is very near. Tadantarasya sarvasya, he is within everything. Tadu sarvasya bahyatah, he is outside of everything. So could somebody give some idea, what have you read in Bhagavad Gita that tells you that this statement is there also? Tad dure tadvantike. How do you look at this from the Gita perspective? That means the Lord is very far away, but he can be very near also. So how does one see that from the Gita perspective? In what sense it is being said here? Tad dure tadvantike means what? Uska matlab kya hua? It means he is far away and he is very near means what? What do you mean by he is far away and at the same time he is very near? Very good, excellent. Yeah, that's the verse 4.11. So that is the point. That if you have done something, he reciprocates with you like that. So if you have behaved in particular way, he remains extremely far away. But if you have behaved in some other way, he becomes extremely close to you. Okay, so it's in that context only that is Dure and Antike. And another way you can look at it is that Krishna is far away because like in 15.6 he says Nadad Bhasyate Suryo Nashashanko na Pavaka Edgatwana Nivartante Taddam Paramam. That means my abode is very far away. His abode is very far away. But at the same time, if somebody is a yogi and who wishes to connect to him, he is available then and there for him. Right? He is there right next to him. And he is there everywhere for him. Correct? Actually, this theme of the Bhagavad Gita is so beautiful that it distinguishes itself. I mean, these are the parts of Gita where we also need to understand that Gita distinguishes itself from all other religious traditions. Because in all other religious traditions, especially the Abrahamic faith, God is never here. He is only there. This concept that God can be here also with you in matter does not exist only in their religious system. Because He is only there. And that is why they don't feel any shyness or shame in exploiting anything. Because the idea is that God is not here only. Kya farak padta hai? God is only there in His abode. He is never here. He doesn't even come down in this world as avatar. What to speak of anything else? What to speak of Him being present in matter? He is never there. Right? But on the other hand, so if you see in some way, Sanatana Dharma teaches this wonderful aspect of looking at God here as well as there. Govind Prabhu in one lecture, he was talking about how seeing God here also means that you treat everything in this world with that level of sanctity. There was one class we had, some discussion maybe a couple of years ago. So he was mentioning that they had a discussion, it seems, in Chowpatty temple, the managers, because one devotee had, it seems, written a letter saying that in all these 3-4 temples we have in Bombay, Pune, we use several crores of flowers we buy, and he was talking about some flowers that we use in our festivals which are actually harmful to the environment. That means when you dispose it, it doesn't merge with the environment because foreign flower hai, just like we say, vegetables also. So he was naming those flowers also. So there are some flowers, he said, that which are with lot of chemicals they are grown, and that flower, it seems, even when you dispose it, it causes harm back to the environment. So he was saying that they had a big discussion among the devotees there that should we do that actually? Should we buy such flowers in the first place? So some people felt that no, it is whatever, service to Krishna. But then some others felt that no, our philosophy actually is not like that. Our philosophy is to see God everywhere. To see God in that matter, to see God in that environment also. Nowadays, actually, if you see, at least in the normal world, many people have become environment conscious. If you see even Modi, when he went to UN and he gave a speech about environment and all that, it was well appreciated. people have become, at least in some sense, environment conscious, because they're seeing that you are causing so much destruction to the environment and this is not sustainable. So at the same time, religions are generally not seen as environment friendly, the way they behave, because they behave as if they have nothing to do with this world, generally. But actually speaking, Sanatana Dharma is very well integrated with this world, because that's the foundation of Gita, Isopanishad, everything. So you can't do anything like this, where you understood, right? So we were also talking about some devotees had taken some resolution about during Kartik month, they wanted to offer some 1 lakh some particular lamps in Yamuna. So, but it seems those lamps that they were using were made of some artificial substance, and that would actually pollute the Yamuna much more than what it already is. So the idea was you can't do that. So the discussion that they had was you can't do that because God is there. I mean, Yamuna of course is directly spiritual and transcendental. I mean, what is big of Yamuna? Even Mulla Mutta one is supposed to see it like that. I mean, as in, it's not about whether it is Yamuna, Ganga or an ordinary river, but every aspect of creation is to be seen. And that's what you see here in this verse, that Taddure Tadantike. One is supposed to see the Lord not only as far, but also as very close. Tadantarasya Sarvasya. How do you see that he is outside of everything in Bhagavad Gita? Which part of Bhagavad Gita talks about Lord as outside everything? Where in Bhagavad Gita do we see that Krishna is outside of everything? There's only one thing which we see. We have to give a clue. There is one entire chapter about it. Virat Rupa. The Virat form of the Lord is that form of the Lord which is Bahya, which is outside of everything. So that's what Arjuna could see, right? He could see in that form everything is there. That means he's inside of everything. How? By 15.15 Bhagavad Gita. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto. He's sitting inside everything. He's outside of everything in the Virat Rupa. So the Virat Rupa is outside everything, and everything is part of his body only. That means the whole universe is considered as part of his form. Right? That's what Virat Rupa is. So that's how this verse again connects back to the Gita. He is not only far away, he is near, depending on how you wish to see him. And he is not only within everything, but is outside also of everything. Okay, so one sees him like that. Now we'll just go to the last part and end. So verse 6 and 7 of the Isopanishad talks about what is the result of understanding God. And this is very beautiful. This part is very beautiful, and it has, even if we don't understand God, at least if we understand the spirit of this verse, we can be very peaceful. At least I had a real sense of relief when I read this verse and this particular commentary. So look at verse 6. Yastu sarvani bhutani atmanyeva anupashyati sarva bhuteshu chatmanam tato na vijugupsate. Look at the blessing given here. He who sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, and who sees all entities as his parts and parcels, and who sees Supreme Lord within everything, never hates anything nor any being. So this verse 6 is saying that if somebody can look at this principle that the Lord is everywhere, then what happens to him? What is the immediate benediction given to him? That benediction is given here, because everybody wants some benediction. ठीक है भाई, ये knowledge का क्या application है? Just like those of us who are teaching in colleges nowadays, we know that for every course we are supposed to teach something called course outcome. मतलब ये course सीखने के बाद आपको क्या होगा? फलश्रुति, course outcome. What is the advantage of knowing this? So verse 4 and 5 spoke about the nature of the Lord. So 6 and 7 is saying, if you know this, what happens to you? So the first thing that happens to you, he says, is you never hate anything or anybody. And if you actually think about it very carefully, it is such an amazing blessing. Because why will you not hate anyone? Because generally aversion in this world is there because we think he is different, I am different. Okay, he is different, I am different. This is the fundamental reason for aversion. We don't look at everybody the way we look at ourselves. We look at somebody else as a competitor, as our enemy, as our dushman or whatever. Right? But if one can understand that the soul is the same soul present everywhere, and the Parama, more importantly, the Paramatma is controlling every Jivatma. Because we had seen this, right? That Ishavasya, it is by his inspiration only people are doing what they are doing. It is by his inspiration that it is happening like that. Are you getting the Isopanishads starting? It is by his inspiration only that people are acting the way they are. So it's a beautiful story in Ramayana. So this happens when Hanuman, after Ram killed Ravan, Hanuman goes to Ashok Vatika to give Sita the news that I have, that in this way Ram has killed Ravan and now we are coming to take you. So Sita was so happy. She told Hanuman, my dear Hanuman, I am so happy that you have got this news to me. Please ask for some benediction. Kuch to pucho. So Hanuman is asking a benediction. You know what benediction is asking? He is asking, I want to beat all these people up over here. जो सब राक्षसी लोग हैं आजू बाजू में सबको मारने पीटने the benediction है वो. So this is again from Valmiki Ramayana. So Sita looks at Hanuman and says, I thought you were very learned. Please try to understand why these people, these ladies were angry with me. They were angry with me because the Lord as a Paramatma in them decided that they should be angry on me. Ultimately the Lord is the controller of everyone. And how can I quarrel against the Lord? Because He is the Paramatma in all these people's heart. He inspired them to be angry on me. And that is why they were threatening me with the spear, saying they will pierce me, they will beat me, all that. So why should I be angry on them? Because what it means is I am not accepting this theory only, that it is the Lord as a Paramatma who has inspired them to do like that. So why are you even saying this? There is no question of beating them up. So just let's go. So this is how Sita responds to Hanuman. So how does that understanding come? So that understanding, the understanding of the Isopanishad, that the Lord is there everywhere and everybody is acting inspired by Him. So if somebody is angry on me, somebody has made enmity with me, it is because the Lord has sanctioned that person to make enmity with me. So why should I look at that person like that? I need not be envious of him, because if I am envious of him, I am actually envious of the Lord, because He has impelled that person to act like that. You understood the point, right? If somebody is harsh, I know it's a little difficult to adopt.
Same thing with Hanuman also. No? Hanuman, what he's asking is also inspired by the Lord.
Hanuman is asking, so he's inspired to beat him up. Huh? So I'm inspired to beat you up. No, but that understanding of Hanuman is not in line with that, the vision that, right, it is with this other vision. So I'll give best example of this. You see the Pandavas in the Mahabharata, just try to fathom this. At the end of the war, what happens? This Ashwatthama kills all their sons, right? And if you carefully observe, there was one person who played a role in that. Ashwatthama to ठीक था, Kripacharya. If you see Kripacharya, Ashwatthama ने क्या किया? Kripacharya को बाहर खड़ा कर दिया. There were many of these Pandavas and their allies who were trying to escape out. Kripacharya would bang them inside. मतलब अंदर भेजता था उनको. And Ashwatthama would slaughter them. Now if you see this, Kripacharya played that role in that night, on the 18th night of the war, for the destruction of all the remaining people in the war. Yes or no? The next thing you read in the next chapter of the Mahabharata is when Yudhishthira Maharaj is coronated by Kripacharya only. He continues to act as their priest. Just try to fathom this. I mean, at what level are you working? The five Pandavas, their sons were killed. And Kripacharya had a role in it. मतलब अगर हम देखेंगे even murder में, if you see what shall I say, direct murder, मतलब एक है कि किसी ने आके चाकू मार दिया, दूसरे ने पैसा दिया चाकू लाने के लिए, उसको भी वही सजा मिलता है ना, हम जानते हो. मतलब you brought that weapon, yeah, that Sanjay Dutt got that AK-47 from one fellow and he kept it in his home. That case was treated as part of the 1993 bomb blast. मतलब it was seen holistically. He said, अरे मैंने सिर्फ गन लिया, वैसा नहीं है, तू किसके साथ कनेक्टेड था, किसकी गाड़ी में आया, कौन ड्राइवर था, सबको वही सजा मिलता है. और by and large, they are all treated part of the same conspiracy. And here it was pretty direct. Kripacharya was standing outside and bashing everybody inside. But again, if you see the Pandavas, at the end of the war, they understood one thing. See, that was a role he had to play over there. I mean, at one level, it was inspired by the Lord, which was also correct. If you see Ashwatthama, when he goes in, it is said that Rudra actually enters him. And he sees that thing, one crow is, right? It's killing all the small ones when they are sleeping. And it is said that Lord Shiva literally enters the system and he starts doing whatever he did. So of course he's punished for that mistake in that context. But the thing is, even to have this vision that everything has happened by his sanction only, ये भी तो है ना, ये भी है. Because one reason is also said that Krishna wanted to show the world that even if you are on the side of dharma, you have to lose things when you fight the world. ऐसा नहीं हो सकता है कि it would seem very utopian, like in Bollywood sometimes it happens when Amitabh Bachchan is standing in the center, and perhaps I don't know whether nowadays they show like that, but we have seen like that movies, na? One hero is standing, some 20 people are surrounding, he's looking like this, dart is giving with his 2 legs, he's hitting behind, everybody falls, and he comes out and just one scratch is there, he just brushes it aside. I mean, that's very unrealistic. In the real world, perhaps your hand or leg will be cut. And that's what Mahabharata presents. I mean, तुम hero हो तो भी तुम्हारा कुछ लोग मरने वाले. That is the real world. This is a hypothetical world. Cinema is a hypothetical world. So that's not going to happen. So what the Isopanishad is teaching here is that if anybody displays any enmity towards you, please try to understand that that person has been inspired by his super soul, which is your super soul also, to act in that manner to you. So you need not develop the same feeling towards that person. You could feel that, fine, I mean, this is what the Lord has willed, so let it be like that. So we'll just, I'll just read the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita has very beautiful verses on this. Just look at this. There are amazing verses in the Gita which talk about this. This is Bhagavad Gita verse number 8 and 9. This is just amazing. Jnana Vigyan, 6th chapter, 8 and 9. Jnana Vijnana Triptatma Kutasto Vichitendriya Yukta Ityuchate Yogi Samaloshrasma Kanchanaha. If you see this verse 6.8, Krishna says, a person is said to be established in self-realization and is called a yogi when he is fully satisfied by virtue of knowledge and realization. Such a person is situated in transcendence and self-control. He sees everything, whether it is pebbles, stones and gold, as same. See, this is one level of realization. That means you see objects equally. Pebble, stone, gold are objects. Object को एक समान देखना. ये one level of realization है. But verse 9 is higher level of realization. And Krishna says that also. Suhin mitrari udasina madhyastha dvesha bandhusu sadhu shapisha papeshu samabuddhir vishishyate. Look at that. Look at the translation. A person is considered still advanced when he regards well-wishers, affectionate benefactors, neutral, mediators, envious, friends, enemies, pious, sinners, all with an equal mind. So Krishna is demanding that as a qualification of a yogi, where you can see Samachitta. Samachitta is a very important thing in Gita. If you see, Samachitta comes in so many places. Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavai Suni Samadarshina. Samachitta, this concept, equanimity, is banged in Bhagavad Gita in so many places by Krishna, where you do not distinguish between people who are seeing you. That means you see everybody with an equal vision. With this understanding only, that everybody in the world is inspired by the super soul to behave in some ways. So also let us remember, this is a very personal lesson. Matlab, I mean, I'll take questions on this because I'm sure there would be some. But we will conclude the series by saying that this is how one is supposed to see in case of personal problems. No, so see, that is why there is Adhyatmika realization of scripture, Ati Devika, Ati Bhautika. That means on a personal level, Yudhishthir is called Ajata Shatru because he never saw Duryodhana as his enemy. He never saw anything Duryodhana did personally as an enmity. He could forgive that. But the question is still, why did he fight the war? Because that was from Ati Bhautika level. That means from the level, or Ati Devika level, from Krishna's vision, or from the vision of society, it was important that Duryodhana must be punished. From personal level, there was never any issue. Are you getting it? That means that fight was not for that personal level. So Bhagavad Gita or Isopanishad, when it's talking here, it is talking from personal level. Personal level में आप enmity नहीं देख सकते. लेकिन at the level of country, at the level of civilization, at the level of samskar, at the level of what shall I say, society impact, one may decide to punish, and one does that. So can you imagine the Gita, what level it is expecting Arjuna? Krishna is simultaneously expecting that Arjuna should understand this knowledge, look at Duryodhana, and Bhima with the same vision at the same time punished them with that higher understanding of, social implementation and everything. Correct? So Gita is actually expecting you to work at different levels simultaneously. One at the inner level, one at the outer level. So perhaps for most ordinary people, if you are not working at that level, then it's a different thing completely. Then you don't have to have that enmity with people, because we are not some ruler or something. Correct? Somebody like Modi or who's the Prime Minister cannot look at Imran Khan and Taliban and everybody the same. You can't look at them with the equal vision. No, because there the social implementation is there. But at a very personal... So Gita and Upanishad in these teachings are talking from an adhyatmika level. From your personal perspective, how do you look at people? No, you look at everybody as same only. You see that even that Taliban fellow is inspired by the Lord only. Isliye he is behaving the way he is. Somehow he has been inspired like that. By the Paramatma, by whatever. His own actions are in the past. So Paramatma has inspired him like that. Correct. Correct. So that is why if you see even the sannyasis and if you see I'll just end with this point that when Sanatan Goswami, when he comes to meet Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri, after he meets him, he goes to Balabhadra Bhattacharya and takes down the path by which Mahaprabhu travelled via Jarikanda forest and decides to go to Vrindavan along that same path. Now please note, Sanatan Goswami came by city road, but he goes via jungles. And jungle means what jungle? Thick jungle. But that understanding is there, that Paramatma is there in that heart of the animal. And only if he sanctions that animal will kill me. I mean, you have to really function at that level of existence. Then only you can travel to the path. If you have a doubt about this philosophy, you cannot travel. Because he is not Mahaprabhu, right? I mean, Mahaprabhu, we know that he would slap the tiger and the tiger would dance and all that. But, when you're going through that path, you have to be convinced that the tiger has not fallen down. He's still maintaining his status quo as a devotee. But he goes like that. So, that's a very high level of implementation. Perhaps we are not expected at that level. I think this is also there in that journey home when Kailash Baba tells Maharaj, right? That Kailash Baba, he says that all these animals, leopard, everything, you should know how you live in the jungle dealing with them. And they will not do anything to you. These people actually live in this plane. These Babas and all that. Otherwise, they cannot function like that. They can't live in such a Uttarakhand ka koi jungle mein. They have that vision to some extent. Otherwise, and the animals don't do anything to them also. It doesn't do anything to them. Okay, any question or comment? You had something.
When you say that this is not at personal level, so there one question was there that like normally we say that a devotee or anyone, we should not let anyone exploit us. So but when we see in the world like someone is behaving in that way, then we have to act intelligently. Like we can't be in that mood that whatever he is doing is fine. So we have to protect our dignity and like in that situation.
Yeah, certainly.
Then how to see that? Means how to see, because if we apply this philosophy, then this means that we should forgive that person. Like we should not do anything. But there is also this concept to act smartly in the world.
Yeah, but where does this acting smartly necessarily mean that, at least on a personal level, that one has to necessarily...
No, because the application of this philosophy means that one should just tolerate. One should not do anything. Like, one should not even work... one should
not retaliate.
Yeah, one should just work in such a way that if you are getting exploited, then let it be. Don't do anything about it.
No, I wouldn't say that is the application of this. That is certainly not what it means here. Let us look at the examples that we saw. One example of Sita was there, where these people were doing something to her. So of course, at a larger level, Ram took action, right, against Ravan and everything. There was an action taken. But at the same time, these ladies, if you see in Ashok Vatika who were troubling Sita, at one level, at a higher level, they were acting on the direction of Paramatma. At a lower level, they were acting on the direction of Ravana, who had appointed them to trouble. So Sita saw them as some very external entities in this whole thing. And there was no need to simply punish that cause. See, at one level you also see it as your own responsibility also. That means if I have already suffered at them, that necessarily that I have to punish them back immediately just to show that now, I'm bigger than you, I'll beat you up. It doesn't serve anything in that purpose, if you see. Those people who are there. So she decides to forgive them. See, forgiveness. Maharaj in one lecture, I think, which one I am? Recently only I heard. He says forgiveness is the most important quality of a Brahmana. If you cannot forgive, then he says you are not Brahmin only. If you want to be at Brahmin, Vaishnava level, forgiveness is considered the primary qualification. But we should never take any quality to an extreme. By saying forgiveness means that somebody is coming and looting your house and still you are just sitting, take a bite, lootne do usko, I am, forgiving. No, Paramatma has inspired him to loot my house. No, one tries to act in whatever ways to self-defend. But at the same time, this principle is also there, that once everything is done and dusted, everything is over, one understands that one forgives also. One doesn't maintain that too much. That animosity to maintain like that and decide to take revenge, that is not in the spirit of the Gita and Upanishad. Because you have to see also that, because where will you apply this knowledge otherwise? That people are inspired by super soul to act on you. वो भी सच है ना simultaneously. People are acting on us because of that. At an external level, we may take some action, we may go to the court or we may do everything. But we also understand it's my own action because of which it happened. Yeah. Any last question?
Like in devotee circle, we often say that we should discriminate things.
Discriminate.
And we should stay away from the envious and like all that. But in this verse which you mentioned, that looking them at...
Actually, one sense is Uttamadhikari verse. 6 and 7 are Uttamadhikari verse. They are not Madhyamadhikari verse. That is given already. Prabhupada says in that purport, the Uttamadhikari level of existence. But on a personal level, one can apply it so that one feels little comfortable in this world. That is also important. Uttamadhikari का मतलब हम ये नहीं बोल सकते हमारे लिए इसमें कुछ है ही नहीं, ऐसा भी नहीं.
We should aim for that.
Yeah, but it's very clearly said in the purport and everybody has commented that verse 6 and 7 are Uttamadhikari level of seeing the world. It is not Madhyamadhikari or Kanishta level of seeing. But that level of seeing even externally helps a person feel some comfort in this world. On a personal level.
Can we say like how certain karma we generally reflect the back?
Yeah.
So similarly,
it's a reflection. Yes. It's a reflection. It's a reflection after things have happened. Right? Any last? You wanted to say something? Okay, so that's fine. I mean, that doesn't mean that I have to stretch from here. Even for us to finish, wind up, walk there and wish the child, directly जाके we are not going to jump. Plate कुटे है मला आता जेवायचे है. Not like that. तो birthday है दोनों लड़कियों का we'll wish them.
There's still time.
Yeah, no problem.
oh, one more thing. So like, see, that means Paramatma inspires means what? That living entity has that desire and Paramatma means sanctions or he is inducing for that. That is what it means.
No, that is one way of seeing it.
Because in the 5th chapter we have the shloka that now
Yeah.
they can say that Paramatma means Lord does not.
Yeah, Paramatma inspires according to your desire only, that is correct. But Paramatma, like, I mean, see, it's like this. I will take all efforts to ensure that my house is not robbed. Correct? वो सिक्योरिटी लगाया, ये किया, वो किया. लेकिन तब भी अगर चोरी होता है और मेरे घर में चोरी होता है, then I understand one thing that, okay, it is true that one fellow wanted to steal. But ultimately at one point of time, even he had a choice ना, ये घर में चोरी करो 203, 204, 205, किधर डाका डालने का. तो उधर एक इंस्पिरेशन आया ना भाई परमात्मा से, इसके घर में डाका डाल करके. It's in that level we are saying. It is certainly his desire only to steal. Paramatma has not caught some innocent fellow and told him go and steal. उसका था, लेकिन चोरी किसके घर में करने का? उसमें भगवान का इंस्पिरेशन था ना. So that is where one reflects that it is Paramatma only inspired. So not inspired in the sense that, the Lord sent a thief to my home in that sense, but that is also correct. Right?
And not against that person's wishes.
Yeah, that is there. Yeah, he has this. Yeah. He's there. But he directed to my house ना. That's what I'm saying. चोर आ गया पूरा बिल्डिंग में, इतनी बिल्डिंग में 20 फ्लैट है, मेरे घर में क्यों डाका डाला उसने? मेरे घर में मतलब आई एम नॉट फ्राइटेड श्री राम गोपाल, बट why in this house only he had to come to steal? Because he has inspired him, otherwise he wouldn't have come. So that one, at one point one understands also that the Lord has acted like that. This is all reflection. होने के बाद का reflection है ये. That's why I gave the example of Kripacharya and Pandavas, how they dealt with him. They understood that he was part of that party. He had to act in conformation to that. So he was helping Ashwatthama. And somehow Lord Shiva and everybody encouraged these people to act like that. But actually he's a good person. He has that sense. He takes him back. And he is the chief preceptor. He only corroborates Yudhishthir Maharaj. He does all Yashomeda Yajna. Everything. Kripacharya is there, right there. Can you imagine, next 30 years you're seeing the same fellow day in, day out, and you have to really forget that he played a vital role in killing your own kin. Usko chhod diya unhone.
Dhritarashtra also said.
Yeah, same thing. They just forgave. After it is over, what to do now? Just don't continue that enmity. Just leave it.
In this concept that if he is God, so we don't have any personal enmity with him because Paramatma directly. But because he can beat him because it was his desire, right?
Of course.
And also our desire to be.
So Paramatma will inspire you to beat him.
Then you see, that's why I told you, na, you have to see all these teachings at multiple levels. There is Adhyatmic level of seeing, Ati Bhautik level of seeing. Arjuna is supposed to see Duryodhan with this vision. At the same time, he is supposed to see Duryodhan with the vision that I am going to punish. Both visions are important. Please try to understand the point here. You can't say that. See, what happens many times, we tend to think that ye, ya, ye. But Gita is always both. It is and, it's not or. Arjuna is supposed to see Duryodhan in this mood, and at the same time see him as an object of punishment from another level. Correct or not? So that doesn't mean this is wrong and this doesn't mean that is wrong. Both have their place. And perhaps in some place, you just forgive that person. Wo bhi hai na? That's why I gave the example of Kripacharya. Something is over already, now what to do? What do you do with that person? Fine, he's accommodated. You can't now say that, I will take revenge on that. No, he played a role in that context. Ultimately, we have to extend that, and Lord only sanctioned the death of these people. But he has a role in this world, so we accept it. Not only Kripacharya, Kritavarma also. Kritavarma was considered a friend of Arjuna. Uska friend hai actually. Kripacharya and Kritavarma were outside. They didn't directly do, but they played a role. But they were accommodated later. They are all part of these people only later. Now they are not separate.
So even Krishna says that other than you 5 Pandavas, everybody will be killed.
Yeah.
So it was plan of Krishna.
That's the point, na? It was his plan.
Why Ashwatthama was punished and these two are forgiven?
No, because he desired to do that, right? See, Krishna does it through agents, right? It's like Krishna has desired that. See, it is Krishna's desire certainly that only these 5 will remain. That is correct. Because without his sanction, nothing is going to happen. He has already sanctioned that. Pre-sanction ho gaya uska. Lekin tab bhi there are some people who are wanting to do it. Correct? Ashwatthama wants to do it. He is the volunteer to do it. So Krishna has allowed him to do. Actually, Ashwatthama wanted to kill Pandavas. He didn't want to kill Pandavas' children. Uska original desire Pandav को मारना था. वो तो भगवान ने क्रॉस कर दिया. वो तो सैंक्शन ही नहीं किया. इन भगवान बोला ठीक है इतना ही करना है ना इनके बच्चों को मार दे. वो उधर सैंक्शन किया ना लेकिन वो because he decided he also has to be punished, so he got that punishment. Correct ना? तो ऐसा नहीं हो सकता ना. So Gita is always both visions are correct. Actually, if you see, it's so difficult if you see to really implement Bhagavad Gita. It is one thing to say that every Pakistani is my permanent enemy. I look at him like that. That's one vision. That's another vision is to see that no, they are all our friends only, universal brotherhood. But to maintain both visions. That at Atma Tattva level, yes, they are as much a spirit soul as everyone else. Just like everybody in this world is being inspired by the 3 modes directed by Krishna, even they are being inspired like that. But at the same time to understand that no, at an external level some action has to be taken. This is actually Bhagavad Gita, right? Where you maintain both the visions and not only one vision that I will maintain hatred and enmity. Vaisa nahi hai. Yeah.
If something bad happens to someone,
Yeah.
so it is desire of Krishna or due to karma, means how to understand that? They are saying, in past karma, that's why it happened, or something like that. It's desire of...
It's both. It is because of the karma that Krishna decided like that, right? Because of our own karma, Krishna has desired that such a thing should happen. So at one level, I also understand that Krishna has desired it. from a devotional perspective. See, from a very ordinary perspective, it is karma. From a more devotional perspective, Krishna has inspired and sanctioned that. So, what is the use of,
Why such a situation comes means, I heard one lecture of Radhesham Prabhu where he told one incident about Brahmana. Means that Brahmana, one lady blackmailed him and that Brahmana didn't listen to her. So what she did, she killed her husband. She killed her husband.
Butcher story.
Yeah. So she killed her husband. So why such a situation came to that Brahmana? Means when that butcher asked him where the cow went, so he was confused how to tell that, because he will tell truth because he was Brahmana. And if he would tell the truth, the butcher will kill the cow. That situation came. So my question is like that, why such a situation arises in first place?
Okay. So, no, what happens in that story? One second, I didn't understand the story only. मैं वो story में.
He shows ना ब्राह्मणा उसके पास दो ही ऑप्शन है, या मैं तो सच बोलूं या फिर क्या बोलूं?
झूठ बोलो तो वो क्या बोलता है?
He shows that
he shows where the cow goes, and then what happens as a result of that? Next hand cut off. Okay. So your question is, why did that butcher come to him at all?
Why did that situation only happen?
Why did the situation only happen? Oh, that's easy. Yeah, so?
So it is desire or karma, like that?
No, not. See, one thing is that the world is going to continuously throw situations only. Dharma means what? So you have understood dharma in a particular way. Situations will keep coming, which is the very nature of the world, where you have to face it. Otherwise, where will you apply your dharmic understanding? So he's a Brahmin, right?
Yes.
So he is supposed to have known at that spur of the moment what I'm supposed to do. That's the test, right? To understand. So ultimately that test is sanctioned by the Lord. That is why it has happened to him. If you ask like that, it's the Lord's will only that he was tested that way. But he had to be tested, right? With all your knowledge and all your understanding of Brahmana Tattva. Shouldn't you understand if a butcher has come, where do you point or do what? So he made an error of judgment in that split second, pointing to the cow in the right direction. Correct?
But he was a Brahmana, he should tell the truth. That's why he told.
No, but then he has to understand. See, Brahmana Tattva means to understand everything. That higher principles, he studied all the Vedas, he knows what is protection of cow, he knows this fellow is a butcher, he's running around. So situations obviously come by, the Lord is continuously going to test everyone, whether you are in Varnashram or whether you are a devotee or whatever. The Lord is testing your dharmic understanding in the real world by seeing that what are you going to do right now. And if you fail that, then there is a consequence. I mean, if you look at it like that, वो consequence है कि भाई अभी मैंने वहाँ दिखाया हाथ गया मेरा. Is it? Yeah, I think we have to end. Yeah, last one.
Well, when we hear the history, it's a Maratha's history we hear, and the history is how Mughals are humiliated, or like so many temples were destroyed. So after hearing all that, you develop this animosity towards that particular class of people. Then how to see that in line with our philosophy? So once I heard, I wanted to confirm whether it is correct also. Once I heard that Prabhupada also made a remark that we can believe only two Muslims. Like before the tomb and after, one who's in the womb and one who's in the tomb. So there was some remark from Prabhupada, someone said that even Prabhupada mentioned that we can only have faith in two Muslims, in the womb or in the tomb, something like that. So this, our Vaishnava understanding also, plus these days, when we see in different WhatsApp group this video come of Christian missionaries, Kerala, Tamil, this, that, then how to apply this philosophy, because in heart you develop
animosity.
Yeah.
Govind Prabhu once told me that individually an Abrahamic follower as a person may be good. Problem is with the philosophy itself. Problem is not with the person, it's the philosophy that makes him like that. On the other hand, he was saying that the Hindu philosophy, the philosophy is good, but the person may be terrible. You understood? So at individual level, you can't make that distinction, first thing. So that individually may be good, but that philosophy makes the person like that. Are you getting it? So that is again, are you getting the point, right? So it is because a person adheres to that philosophy, it makes you like that. It makes you a little violent, cruel, it makes you look at the world like that. So one has to also see that situation, that person and his philosophy as two different things. Are you getting it? And उसके कारण, उसके influence में आने के कारण ये बंदा ऐसा काम कर रहा है. And that is actually a reality. In fact, if you see, many of the top converts and all in South India, there was one fellow, this, who is this? Forgot this. The current chief minister is there of Andhra Pradesh. His brother-in-law is a very big Christian convert. Jagmohan Reddy's brother-in-law. And his brother-in-law is a Telugu Brahmin by birth. You understood? He fell in, he married this lady and he got converted later and he has become like that. See, what you understand also is that even to become a very perverted person, you need some intelligence. वो background से आया हुआ है वो ब्राह्मण था, उसकी family से ब्राह्मण थे, वो हो गया, अभी वो खतरनाक ये कर रहा है. And even if you see in the Mughals, many of very, even, I mean, I'm just maybe drifting away from the topic, but I'll come back. Even if you see Jinnah, Jinnah's grandfather was a Gujarati Brahmin. And there is one story actually, I just forgot a little bit about his background. But wherever Jinnah's father was, his community boycotted him actually for some reason. नहीं वो छोड़ दो, वो that is not substantiated, वो थोड़ा rumor लगता है. But Jinnah's father was a Brahmin and Hindu only, and something, I forgot the exact thing, but the community boycotted him on some issues. You understood, na? उसके कारण they took up to Islam later and things happened. Many times if you look at it, many of these people became the way they were because of our community mistake also in terms of how you dealt with people. आप समझ गए ना मतलब? So I would suggest that looking at individuals as enemy is never good. That's for sure. It is about looking at philosophy. It is about looking at certain thought processes which are very dangerous, because of which people have become like that. So if we can little bit separate these two, it would perhaps help us in dealing with people as individuals and the philosophy, that has come with them, which has made them like that. Are you getting it? No? I mean, just like if you see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Leela, we see Prabhupada writes in one place also that the Muslim community increased in India because of the Hindu community's foolish ideas only. If somebody like that, what is that person's name? Drink hot ghee and do something. Subudhi Rai, right? उसको बताया गया था कि now you become Muslim only. Roop Sanatan were actually Muslim, मतलब literally converted. Dabir castes were names awarded to them, but the Hindu community saw them as out of our system. So the rigidity that we had in Varnashram, that caused all this, right? So so you have to see the mistakes done by everybody in that. You can't see the mistake of one person. Even Maratha, you said, if you see Maratha history also, see Shivaji attacked Surat, right? But that was a need at that time to get the money, but he did it in a particular way. Later it seems after 200 years the Marathas, they also started attacking and they attacked every place. They developed enmity with everyone. So one main reason it is said why they lost that third battle of Panipat, 1761, is because nobody cooperated with them. They said, marne do ye logon ko. Because you can't, are you getting it? So you have also made mistakes in your thought process and ideology. So you can't simply say that Maratha means, we are Maharashtra, we are in the land of the Marathas, everything Marathas done by perfect. No, they did a mistake there. They did a brutal mistake there by making enmity with everybody. इसलिए वो लोग हार गए वहाँ पर. 1761 में वो जो Abdali or whoever came from Afghanistan, सबको root out कर दिया. 1 lakh Marathas something died in just one day or something. I mean, they just wiped them out in that war. उसके बाद वो एकदम उनका power चला गया. So one important study in history is to understand mistakes done by generations, mistakes done in interpreting philosophy, so that you don't commit that same mistake again now. But unfortunately, as they say, history repeats itself, which basically means people keep making the same mistakes again and again. So I think we have to look at it a little bit like that also. We have to see that, unfortunately these people, our people only instituted such systems where once you drink water from a Muslim's house you became a Muslim. In today's world you see how ridiculous it is. I mean, people, perhaps all of us in our office requirement, I'm sure, we go to some 5-star hotel, we eat, drink, पता नहीं कौन बना रहा है वहाँ, क्या खाना बना रहा है, खाना मुस्लिम छोड़ दो, पानी का खाना बनाने वाला मुस्लिम. We may ask Jain food, but the Jain food is coming from the hand of a Muslim cook only. I mean, from that perspective, you see what our ancestors decided and did, by simply throwing out people would cry thinking that I have become Muslim, and then their children would act like that philosophy getting imposed on them. If you see, I mean, I think that is a more important lesson to learn here rather than developing that individual enmity with that person. Unfortunately, the world is like that. Even perhaps if tomorrow I and you are born in such a family, we will also start thinking like that. Because it is the problem of that philosophy which imposes the thought process. It is not that person per se. Again, so there, we need to little bit distinguish between that person and that, you understood, na? I mean, if you see even right now what is happening in the Supreme Court with that Ram Mandir issue, I mean, if you are reading that, you will understand how these people are arguing. Because unfortunately, एक बार philosophy system में आ गया, so then you have to protect your religion. ऐसा हो जाता है फिर. It becomes like that.
But normally we say that Vedic culture is very deep, and Vedic culture can accommodate anyone. So how is it that our ancestors were behaving in such a way?
This is recent history, na Prabhu. एक तो कलयुग began, तब से degradation is there. What you and me are talking are last 800-900 years in India. Correct, na?
So real Vedic culture, if you have to see, then you could go much beyond.
Yeah, see, that's what, na? One thing, there is Loka Praman and one is Shastra Praman. Shastra, how does it look at it? And how have these people interpreted it? Our immediate ancestors in the last 800,000 years. So that has been a problem, right? That rigidity, वो rigidity था ना, वर्णाश्रम एक rigid हो गया एक sense में, कि थोड़ा भी इधर उधर गए तो बर्खास्त, out. So that was too rigid a system. ऐसा कि इतना rigid कैसे बनाया तुमने? लोग गलती करेंगे, किसी के साथ कुछ होगा, accommodation किधर है तुम्हारा? 1000 years से our ancestors didn't know to deal with it. So that's why we landed in this thing, right? Prabhupada says ना, Muslims didn't come from outside. वो सुबुद्धु राय का commentary beautiful है मध्य लीला में. वो कहते हैं कि बाहर से नहीं आए, हमारे लोगों ने ऐसा सिस्टम बनाया कि इधर के लोग बनते गए. So you have to learn from that history. So now how you deal with your people right now, how you accommodate your people right now. So वो भी एक lesson है ना. That's why sometimes we talk about it, right? We can't preach about Krishna consciousness like an Abrahamic faith. You can't do that. Accommodation यहाँ भी तुमको करना ही पड़ेगा. नहीं तो वो हिस्ट्री वापस रिपीट होता रहता है ना, पुराना छोड़ो आगे का देखो अभी. In that sense, different form, just take a different form because you have not lost your rigidity. You still continue to be rigid in perhaps a little different way. हाँ तो वो देखना पड़ेगा वो. I mean, I'm not saying चल रहा है नहीं चल रहा है, but what I'm saying is you have to learn from that history. Otherwise, you may again implement your Krishna consciousness like an Abrahamic faith on people, and then that would have a different repercussion. So, are you learning from the history really? Is the question, right? I think we'll stop. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hare Hare Bol.